Alright, I'm going to show you how to use these shape nodes in the Usefulnodes download just for a simple, this is just kind of a simple layout. This is for like a patched leather look. I'm starting out with the shape cube. If we go down and look at this, this is a standard UV input. I'm using the tile vector because I plan on tiling this object. If you don't tile it and I move it, you see that it's black outside the borders. That's a design that I do on purpose because I want these objects to build up. So I don't want them to have like a tiling effect. Otherwise you would have to go through every time you add a shape and remove everything outside of that area. So we're going to work with it like this, and I wanted a little border because I'm going to do a small square and then a bigger overlapping square. So we have move, we can adjust the peak, like how sharp, and we'll have to come back to these later. There's a master scale, and then there is a range scale that actually changes how strong it is. Right now we just want to leave everything at 100%. These objects looks like they were curved. I hook up the tile vector. If I bump this up to like 3, then it actually vectors the tiles now, that even though they're not repetitive, they do repeat because it actually tiles the vector, literally. So anything that happens in one square happens in all squares. You can use that to your advantage. We'll use that so we can move huge chunks of information all at once very easily. So then we're going to add a texture and just a gradient texture, and we're going to attach that the same way. I keep using an emission shader so I can see what's happening, at least for now. Let's throw a color ramp in there. And we're going to make it curve. Oh, I want it to go the other way. I want these to curve outward. So it's going to have a low spot in the middle. And then we're going to color mix. Multiply, and if I throw this down here, I was testing it out before I started throwing it up here. I'm just throw that on there, hit tab, and now our object bumps out. I have the renderer in experimental, and if you go to the texture, go down to displacement, and in the settings set the displacement to true displacement. Alright, so that's a little bit sharper of a curve that I'm looking for, so we're going to go to color, RGB curves, and we're going to bring this down. Tab. That's a little better. We can probably adjust this. That's more of a curve that I was looking for. These don't have to be real dramatic. I just want them to have a curve shape to them. So that's how each tile is going to look. Now, you could make a leather texture procedurally, but it's too much work. So we're going to run this off the tile vector also, and then we're going to mix this. with another multiply. Place everything. Alright, so now we're getting a little too dark. So we're going to have to bump up the initial color. Go to converter, math, add. Probably don't need much. Oops. Zoom in. Or, yeah, 0.1. Probably work. 2. It's getting the shape back. I don't know if you can see the leather pattern in there. So better connect that over here. Ah, yeah, so it's a little big. Set this back down to 1 so I see how big it is. We're going to scale this down with a mapping vector. Let's try 2. That's better. We can see the detail in there. But now we need everything to ramp up. Instead we'll go to multiply. That way, if we set it to multiply, at least our blacks stay where they are, and I just change the peak value. And now if I go back to a standard shader and tab it, I can see the shape and I can see the leather in there. Doesn't pop as much as I'd like to though. I wonder if I should multiply that one too. That's a little better. Alright, so we'll just connect that to everything. Alright, so since I'm cheating and I'm using a PBR, this is the height map. I can use this to control the color also. And then take my roughness and use that to drive the roughness. And we're connecting all those to the same mapping node for the texture so they match up. Honestly, that roughness is probably a little harsh. So you throw a color ramp in there. The whites are what's giving it the shine. So you can turn that down to where I'm happy with it. Or wait, no, it's the other way around, I'm sorry. I'm using true displacement, so some of this stuff is getting bad look. But I think it's going to get the job done when everything's scaled down. Alright, so there's my initial shape. I'm going to use that. We'll go back to the emission shader here. And let's say bump the master up to 4. And then I'm going to add another texture. I'm going to add a checker texture. Oh, let's do 2. That way the checker texture lines right up with it. I set this to 2. I'm going to add a route right here because I'll probably throw another tile vector in after that. And if I throw this on the emission shader, set one to pure black, set the other to pure white, and we're going to multiply again. So we have a checker pattern for these. Now if I take my tile vector, then I can crank it up however many times I want. Alright, now I'm making you a tutorial in a second. Alright, select all of this and we're going to Shift D, copy it. I'm going to get these values out of here. Alright, the ID here now I don't need this. We're going to switch the tile pattern the other way, and then we're going to go back to our basic shape node and kick it back up to 1. Actually, we might go a little over. I guess there's no advantage to doing it that way. Move these back to where they belong. Now if I mix these two together with a multiply, oh, there. Here, let's go to add. That's better. Alright. Let's snap that in there. And that's already there. Alright, and the other thing I wanted that tile to do was, in second one I wanted to curve out. I probably need to swap these. Oh. So now those ones curve out. Looks like, because I flipped that value around, this one's probably going a little far. Probably have to cut it in half. Okay, they're about even. Looks like when I scale them down they look a little harsh. So we can throw another math in the value. Multiply by 5. I think that got the effect I was going for. Now let's throw this color ramp on here. Bring the blacks down because you wanted a black leather. Sometimes these don't look so good at first. So I actually have to see how it renders out. It's because it sets the subdivision level by how close your camera is to it, so you don't always get that smooth look that you want until you render it. And that's a lot better. Those values are probably a little high. Let's try 0.1. Render again. So this multiply brought the height down considerably. We don't need a bump map and a normal map. Actually, I don't even think a normal map works in true displacement, or it just goes black on my screen. That looks considerably better. So that's all that there is. So these are your big tiles. These are your little ones. You can go through and do cool stuff like throw curves on these in color, RGB curve. Any shape that you do here will show up in that bevel. So say I do something like that there. And then I'll do the same thing up here. Now when it updates, you're going to see that shape in the beveled part of the shape gradients. See that? So you can make any design that you want. That's actually pretty cool. It's more of an architectural look. So if you're not going for that effect, you know, you'll have to play around with it. I'll just take those out. Let's render it again. so we can see some of it. Yeah, okay, so I think that works pretty good for the design that you're looking for. You could adjust the shapes on everything, and like I really didn't take the time to overlap these, so I probably don't need to do that. But it gets a pretty close approximation of that designer leather look that you were going for, I think.